Hello. Thank you so much for tuning into this video and for asking for it and asking for me to share it with you. As many of you will know, I deliver online virtual classrooms to, more often than not, to trainers, coaches, facilitators, managers, people that are actually facilitating sessions and want to be able to do so, ensuring that people are really engaged in the learning, retaining the information, having a good time, enjoying themselves. And that's a big part of what we do at Quantum Rise. So when I learned of Jamboard's discontinuation, it broke my heart, as I'm sure it did many others, because the reason I love it is it's just so simple, accessible. The technology doesn't override the learning point, and that's really, really important for me. There was no kind of barriers to get through or logins to create. Most organizations could access Google, so I just found it to be the best one to use. And it also meant that people could go off into breakout rooms and still access the whiteboards, and I could see them remotely as well from the main session. There were so many great things that I loved about it. So I've been trying to find a whiteboard that's ticked some of the same boxes, really, because I wanted something equally similar to use but also really accessible. And one thing that I found with a lot of the whiteboards that I've tried is you've got an extra barrier of an extra login, or you have to create an account, or there's a hoop to jump through in one way or another. And I find that that's just giving another opportunity for people to disengage with online learning because they've got a barrier to get through or something goes wrong. And it's really important when you're delivering online training that people feel and maintain engaged, and that the technology and access doesn't override the whole point of them being in the session. So I have had a little play around with some different tools, and the one that I've found that I'm going to share today is one that sits in Teams, but also you can access it on a separate website as well. So I'll show you where to find that, and it's whiteboard.chat. So I've obviously played around with the internal integrated whiteboards on Teams, but what we find is it's all very well when you're in Teams, and it's great now that with Teams you can access it from different organizations and use that collaborative board in the session. But it's really difficult when you go into breakout rooms. So what I can't do is share an external link to people in an external organization and they can access my board. It's not doable yet, unfortunately. So only people from Quantum Rise would be able to access a board that I share with them through a web browser link. And that's really, really important feature for me to be able to do that, because I usually use boards in breakout rooms. I tend to use the other functions and features when we're in the main room. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen, and I'm just going to show you where I found this, which is in Teams, but also some of the features and the things that I like about it. And again, you can have a play around with it. I'm definitely open to challenge, or if you've come across barriers with it, let me know before I start running this out in my train the trainer sessions. Okay, so I'm just going to share my screen here, so you'll be able to just see me on the screen, but you can also see what I'm doing in the background. So if I just pop up here to the apps, and if you don't know this already, there's a whole load of other apps in here as well, but we'll save that for another video. And this is the app that I found. So it's just whiteboard.chat for education. So I'm just going to click on that. Now, what this does is it brings up an additional pop-up for the browser, and it says I can either integrate a new teaching board or a new collaboration board. So I haven't explored all the differences between the two yet, but the main one that could cause an immediate barrier is if I select a new teaching board, I can put my ideas and thoughts onto the whiteboard and everybody in the session can see it, which is great. But when other people put their ideas, comments, text, images, whatever onto the whiteboard, I can't see it and neither can anyone else in the room. So that might be really good where you've got an activity that you want to set people off on individually, where they can use the board for themselves. And then there is a tool where I can showcase that board and share people's boards one at a time. But what it doesn't allow us to do is collaborate as a big group. So the collaboration board does allow us to do that. So if you want to use it for a similar reason to me, which is to get everybody's ideas together so everyone can see all the input from the group, you want to select new collaboration board there. So once that's created, I just click save. And then you'll see on the right hand side, it opens up in the panel, so I can share it through the panel, and also it gives me an app at the top of the screen. Now, if I was to share that now, because of the way this Teams recording runs, I wouldn't be able to share that and for you to see it because you can't see anything that I'm sharing in an app when it comes back to watching the recording. That's a real shame and actually a real downfall for the Teams whiteboard, because when people go to online sessions, they often move at pace. If they're interesting, they're going to be moving quickly because you don't want to leave people kind of waiting for you to move on. So often I use the recording as a real resource for people to go back to watch after. So if they can't see the stuff I'm doing on the whiteboard because it's integrated into Teams, that becomes a bit of a barrier for me. So what I'm going to do is I am going to share it in there, but equally I'm then going to take the link and I'm going to share my screen through the web browser version. So what I'm doing now is I've just clicked the share of the whiteboard, which you won't be able to see through the recording. But what I can do is create a link, and I'm going to show you shortly how to do this for people to be able to access it outside of the Teams session. And this is really important. So I'm just going to share that now. So let's pop over and share my screen. And what you'll be able to see now is this is the whiteboard. So on here, what you can see is it's got loads of really, really good functions. In fact, maybe even too many. So I'm going to show you how you might want to minimize some of that for your learners, potentially if it becomes over confusing. And what you can do is invite people through a simple link straight onto the board. And all they'll be asked to do when they click on that link is put their name in. You don't have an account. You won't get a load of emails, a load of stuff coming through as a result of doing this. All you have to do is click the link and put your name in. And what you'll see then is all the initials come up on the top of the board, quite similar to Jamboard, although not anonymous unless you change the names. You can also move the boards along, which is similar. So you can have one board, two boards, three boards, and you can keep adding boards for your group work, which works really, really nicely in breakout rooms in particular. And one thing that I really like about this is you can change the settings, because I find that there's a lot on this board, which again just becomes overcomplicated, but have a play with it because there might be some really useful features in here that you like. But what I would do is go into settings. I can either customize the tools, so take out the ones that I don't want, keep the ones I do, or I can really simplify them by checking this box that says students can see very simple tools. So just the draw, the erase, the move in the text. And to be honest, I'd probably do that for quite a few of my sessions, but it depends what you use your boards for, obviously. So this board here is brilliant. It integrates into Teams. I also find it's easy for people to get onto. It's straightforward once you're on there, and I can invite people to a link and then send it to them to access in breakout rooms, which was a big, big win for me. So hopefully that's been useful, and do have a little play around with it. If you have come up with any barriers or any issues and you've tried this, please do share them, because I'll be running my future sessions, my future Train the Trainer sessions using this board. So no doubt I'll come across some builds on the video. This is just me having a play around really with it today. But if you've got any questions, do get in touch and let me know if you need anything or you've got any questions. All right, thanks very much.